What time does ALE go on?
I think we start at 11:15.
Ah.
So, I mean, if we're leaving here about like 10:15, well, we should probably leave at 10.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what you're going to wear?
Oh my god, I was like just dicking around, toying with the idea of wearing my mawashi.
Oh, God.
And then just like, just jumping up around like all naked, screaming around. But I don't know. I might just wear what I got on. But I was heavily considering it.
You're going to wear your mawashi to your
Yeah,
show?
I mean, our first show that we've had in like 2 years, and like I never did anything too outrageous in this band. It's not like, my old band, where I would just get butt ass naked and, douse myself with fucking, whatever I was drinking at the time and just smashing into people. It turned into like some crazy naked and not really naked, like sexual naked, but just drunk and nude. Just
like
for the sake.
natural and free and inebriated.
Very inebriated. We had this one venue, oh gosh, what was it called? The Oatmeal Collective in Oklahoma City. And there was, I think it was Bread and Water from Dallas, which is kind of, funny. And then there was BG, I think, and they were from Arkansas. Anyway, everyone and it was This Building is Cursed from Lawrence, Kansas. I remember now. Okay, nice. I might be conflating a couple different shows. I do remember This Building is Cursed was there because they were like just completely flabbergasted why they were in like a whole warehouse full of nude people. I mean, everyone was nude. And it was just like this giant swirling mosh pit of just like naked stinky folks.
Oh my god.
It was hilarious. And then like there was a couple guys, standing with their arms crossed in the back like, yeah,
like,
we're too cool to get naked. Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And there were some guys, screaming. They were like going, hardcore not Woodstock, hardcore not Woodstock.
Oh,
and then,
whatever.
But nobody cared. We were just naked and it was great. And there was a guy, Dylan, Dylan, but he was just like, man, why do you guys in Oklahoma just get super drunk and then just like bang each other's brains out all the time? You guys are just, just too rowdy.
It's Oklahoma.
It's exactly what I was going to say.
What the hell else is there to do?
What's funny is because he woke up hungover and naked, so...
Oh, God.
So if I don't have the sauce, I guess I really don't have the urge to get that naked. Unless, of course, it involves violently pushing and shoving somebody else, and there are mosh pits in there. So, I mean, I
don't think they're going to let naked mosh pits happen in that venue, though.
I don't know if rubber gloves would allow naked mosh pits, but they might allow scantily clad mosh pits.
Okay, so that means I can wear my booty shorts. Right?
Yeah, booty shorts and a mawashi, and then, I don't know. It depends on how many people are there and whether or not they would care if I'm naked. Well, partially naked.
I don't know why, but that reminded me of that time we went and saw Witch Haven at the liquor store.
Oh my god, that was great.
And they were playing literally just between the aisles of the liquor store. God, Denton is amazing. I can't wait to move back there.
I missed it.
Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx.
My name is Sabrina, and I'm really surprised I'm this close to the edge of hungover off of only 3 beers.
Weenie.
Shut up.
And this is Matt, and I feel fucking great. I didn't do anything. I just sat there and hung out, had sodas.
Well, this is
Sumo Punx.
Yeah. I don't need to hear your bragging about not feeling like shit.
Well, we stayed up way too late last night finishing out the Basho. We were at the homie Sean's house. Sean from Dallas Sumo Club.
Big ups to Sean.
And his amazing vegan chanko. That was badass.
Oh, and that mochi, that melon mochi was so fucking good. I think if it weren't for that mochi, I probably would be like right over the edge of hungover.
Oh.
I think I would feel like shit right now, and then we wouldn't even be recording. I'd be like, just put it off until Monday.
But it was pretty awesome. He has a pretty big ass, very high def TV where you could see every single little dimple on the wrestlers.
Oh yes. You ever wonder what like the skin quality is of these guys? Watch that shit in high def.
It was pretty badass though. It was a whole lot of fun. We stayed up way too late. I ate really good.
Yeah, it was super fun, and his dogs were
Those were the nicest
just obsessed
dogs.
with me, and his cat was also obsessed with me.
Pinto
and,
gave her a back massage.
yeah, he kept giving me back massages on the back of the couch. But anyway, so this is the end of the Basho. That's what we were doing last night. We were watching day 15, and I can't say that a week ago I would have predicted that it would have turned out the way that it did.
I know, it was just completely just chaotic.
It was.
It
really
was order attempting to coalesce out of disorder, and that transitional phase was just chaos.
Yeah, it was bonkers.
And so we did keep track of our fantasy picks, and we did keep track of a few other bouts because this was just so wild. The potential for a 4-way playoff was looming over, and that didn't happen, but we did have playoffs for, I think it was Jonokuchi and Jonidan and Juryo, and then potential for a playoff at Makouchi, but there was none to be had.
And another thing about this particular Basho is all of the weird calls by the Gyojis and the Shimpans, and just a lot of debate over what the actual conclusion of some of those bouts was.
Yeah. Did Wakataka Kage actually brush the sand with his hands?
Did Takakeisho's toe lightly brush the clay outside of the dojo or outside of the ring?
It was just wild. Just so much gray area there. Lots of I would say no, there were some bad calls. There were some bullshit calls. There was some, I think there should have been some Gyoji decisions that needed to be reversed.
They should have just spanked him right there on the fucking dojo. They should have just, fucking Hakaku should have just taken, each Gyoji and just bent him over his knee and just whap, whap, whap. Now, have you learned your lesson?
Now to think I would actually pay to see that.
Yeah, because for all the weird things I'm into, you're into, never mind.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start by doing a quick recap of who our fantasy picks are before we get into the action.
Yeah. So, mine, of course, Yokozuna was Terano Fuji, Ozeki was Shodai, Sekiwaka was Abi, Komusubi was Hoshoryu, Maegashira 1 through 5, I picked Kiribayama, who actually did really well. Then Maegashira 6 through 11, I picked Wakamoto Haru. Maegashira 12 through 17, I picked Oho.
All right, and mine, of course, Yokozuna Terano Fuji, Ozeki Mitakayumi, Sekiwaki Wakitaka Kage. That's just so fun to say. Komusubi Daisho, Maegashira 1 through 5 Takayasu, who let me down. Maegashira 6 through 11 Tochino Shin, and Maegashira 12 through 17 Midori Bucking Buji.
Who was surprisingly fun to watch.
Yeah, that was pretty badass. Just like a little pit bull.
And this is his first time in Makouchi, isn't it?
No, I think he's been in here before.
Oh, okay. So this isn't his first time. Still, though, coming up from Juryo and doing this well, I was pretty proud of him. And he wasn't even one of my picks. He was one of your picks.
It was still so fun to watch.
And speaking of Juryo, we do have our boys from Juryo that we've been watching, Atami Fuji and Inho. Go ahead and tell us at least one of the outstanding bouts that Atami Fuji had.
Oh, man. So since the last time, Atami Fuji, this is the bout that I thought stood out the most, and it was when he got his Kachikoshi. Other than this bout, he had some pretty textbook standard sumo, but he did it with such confidence, such strength, just, such ferocity. Really liked what he brought to the table this tournament. He was really fun to watch. It didn't seem like he was as nervous as he was last time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so day 12 versus Daishoho. Daishoho put up a good fight, but Atami Fuji always displays superhuman strength and youthful exuberance. At one point, Atami Fuji attempts a throw, but Daishoho defends with great balance. So Atami Fuji just has to win it with brute strength with the Yorikiri, which secures him his Kachikoshi. He ended the tournament out at 10-5.
Good job, Atami Fuji. Super proud of you. Can't wait to see you up in Makuuchi. Speaking of people who've been in Makuuchi, Inho had an interesting basho this time around. Some notable bouts from his second week, day 12 versus Chiyo Arashi. Inho went in low and fast at the tachiai, secures a deep right-hand grip, and delivers a shitate nage, giving Chiyo Arashi his makikoshi and staving off his own for another day. But then on day 13, he goes up against Tohakuryu. Incredibly energetic tachiai. It looks like Inho wins by Uwatanage or maybe Kakanage. The Yoji calls it for Inho, but the judges then call a Monoi and then a Tori Naoshi. So they have to do a rematch. In the rematch, Tohakuryu gets a hold of Inho's arm and just spins him out of the ring like a sideways tornado with the Sukuinage. That was Kachikoshi for Tohakuryu and Makikoshi for our boy Inho, who ends the tournament at 6 wins, 9 losses.
I was a bit disappointed, but he just needs to step his game up. He just needs to just get a little bit faster and diversify his tactics. He's got the potential to get back to Makuuchi. I mean, we all know that he does.
Yeah, every basho since he went back to Juryo, I've been rooting for him. Like, come on, guy, you got to get over whatever this mental block is. You got to, diversify some more. I don't know what his deal is, but he's still fun to watch.
Oh, he's always fun to watch.
He is.
All right, so we will dive into Makuuchi, starting from the top, going down. So first is Yokozuna Terunofuji, his notable bouts for week 2. Day 9 versus Tobizaru. Tobizaru does a bit better against Terunofuji than he did Hakuho. Still, Teru was able to lift him up by his armpits and carry him out of the ring for an armbar force out, Kimedashi victory. Day 11 versus Abi. Kachikoshi for the Yokozuna with this thrust out win against that lanky beast Abi. Day 12 versus Wakataka Kage. Teru essentially just neutralizes every single one of Wakataka Kage's attacks. They lock up for a brief moment, but that only gives Teru the opportunity to reassert his grip and carry his opponent out.
Technically, this is one of my guys beating one of your guys, by the way.
Whatever.
Even though, we both have Terunofuji, it's still technically...
You see what I've been putting up with? Day 13 versus Takakeisho. Takakeisho gives the Yokozuna a wild fight, almost scoring a push-down win, but Terunofuji is able to resist his hijinks, gives Takakeisho a good shove that sends him stumbling back, and then they just kind of stand there staring at each other for a few moments until Takakeisho claps his hands in front of the Yokozuna's face. I don't know if it was like a deflection tactic or just a signal, all right, it's back on. Either way, Terunofuji ends up winning this one by Yori Taoshi, pushing Takakeisho dangerously close to Makikoshi. More wins than losses.
No, that's more losses than wins.
Oh, more losses than wins.
Yeah, I think what his deal was he was like, okay, I don't just want to be like Tobizaru was when he went up against Hakuho that one time, so let's give a strong indication that, like, I'm still in the fight instead of like...
clap!
He did the right thing with his hands, unlike Tobizaru.
Yeah, just kind of like wiggling his waving magic through the air at Hakuho, which just kind of pissed him off.
Yeah.
Hakuho's just like, come on!
Well, Terunofuji ends up actually winning the Yusho. And
yeah, 12-3.
Yeah, 12-3. 12 wins, 3 losses for our Yokozuna. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the other Rikishi in this Basho didn't do phenomenally. Of course, he's a Yokozuna, you kind of expect him to win. But it was a very close call throughout the entire tournament this time.
Especially with Takanosho and Sadanaumi and just that whole crew. It was just like, there was no way of knowing. There was no way of telling how it was going to go.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah.
No. So, like I said before, I had Shodai as my Ozeki pick. Some notable bouts from Shodai this tournament was Day 9 versus Abi. Abi went for his usual Nodowa attacks as Shodai tried to push forward. And then it seemed to me like Shodai lost his balance at the same time that Abi tried a push-down attack. But by then, Shodai had built up so much forward momentum just trying to stay on his feet, and Abi really wasn't paying attention to where his own feet were going. So that's when Shodai was able to easily Oshidashi Abi out of the ring. I'd say not the best sumo from either one of them, but I still get a point either way since they were both my picks. And Shodai was nice enough to grab Abi before he fell backward off the doyo because he's such a nice guy and that's why I love him.
Oh.
And of course I love Abi because he's kind of a bad boy. But anyway, day 11, Shodai goes up against Tamawashi. Shodai wins by Tsukiotoshi thrust down, but it's kind of funny because he then ends up tripping over his own momentum and doing a half-assed cartwheel of some sort. Still manages to avoid Makikoshi, which is, more losses than wins, for at least another day. Then on day 12, he goes up against Tobizaru. Tobizaru, the leaping monkey.
The macaque.
Tobizaru tries to leap to the side at the Tachiai, but Shodai is able to grab the back of his Mawashi. They both end up tumbling off the doyo. The Gyoji gives it to Tobizaru, but as far as I could see, it looked like maybe the top of Tobizaru's foot had touched the Tawara at around the time the side of Shodai's leg landed. So the judges call a mono-e, which results in a Torinaoshi rematch. Shodai wins the rematch by Oshidashi staving off Makikoshi yet again and inching Tobizaru toward the precipice of his own Makikoshi. Then on day 13, Shodai goes up against Mitakayumi. Unfortunately, Shodai could not avoid that Makikoshi until the end because as much as he tried to resist Mitakayumi, he was driven out with a Yorikiri by the fellow Ozeki. Day 15, he then goes up against the other Ozeki, Takakeisho. Shodai puts up a good fight on the last day, and he may have even been able to win this one if luck had been a little more on his side, as the Gyoji declared Takakeisho the victor, but was then followed by a mono-e. There was some question as to whether Takakeisho's foot actually touched the clay on the outside of the Tawara as he was trying to pull Shodai out. And you could see it just barely a millimeter away if he did indeed avoid it, because who knows, they've been making some questionable calls this Basho.
For real.
But Takakeisho's Tsukiotoshi win, and by extension, his Kachikoshi was declared valid. Shodai ends this Basho with a score of 5 wins, 10 losses.
Aw, Kadoban.
I mean...
But that means he's just going to kick ass next tournament to keep his Ozeki status.
So of course I'm going to pick him again, because I'm always going to pick him.
You just got to be careful of his flip-flopping.
It's okay. He's playing his own game. Okay. He knows what he's doing. He's like, hey, I'm going to put forth the least amount of effort for like the most income that I can get being a Rikishi. And that's what he's doing.
I mean,
So,
I can't say I blame him.
I don't really know how the income works, but that's what I would do anyway.
It's all for the money.
Sure.
All right, so then we get to Mitakayumi, day 10 versus Tobizaru. Started out as an intense grappling battle. Lots of Yotsumo action, lots of belt grabbing and pulling. Tobizaru tries to maneuver for what kind of looked like a kakenage, but with his leg on the outside of Mitakayumi's instead of inside. Not sure if that has a specific name, but either way, it did not work. Mitakayumi had better leverage with his arm over Tobizaru's left shoulder, which allowed him to push Tobizaru out of the ring for a beltless arm throw Sukui Nage win. Day 14 versus Takakeisho. Perfect Tachi by Takakeisho, who gets perfectly wedged under Matakayumi and gently but swiftly slides him out of the ring. Matakayumi gets a Makekoshi, more losses than wins, and Takakeisho is now the Ozeki with the most wins, and Nanasho Nanahai, 7-7, going into the final day. Day 15 versus Terano Fuji, Matakayumi just couldn't compete against the Yokozuna. He was carried out of the ring in a Yorikiri win for Terano Fuji, no question about it. So Matakayumi ends this Basho at 6-9 and is also Kataban.
Kataban.
I saw that meme where it was like, it was from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? You know, where they're like with the little nooses around their necks, and then Shodai's just looking at Matakayumi going, first time.
Well, now on to the Sekiwakes. My Sekiwake pick was Abi. On day 12, he went up against Matakayumi. It was over pretty quickly. Abi does his usual Abizumo and wins by Oshidashi against the Ozeki. That's 2 out of 3 Ozeki he's beaten this Basho. Of course, the other was Takakeisho, which kind of makes me wonder, Abi, why didn't you do better than you did this tournament? Anyway, day 13, he goes up against Ura. Ura comes in low. Abi is able to keep him at bay and then knock him off balance and push Ura out for an Oshidashi win. Abi gets to just 1 step away from Kachikoshi, while Ura gets a sprained ankle.
Oh.
Yeah. With a score of 9 wins, 4 losses, Ura ends up having to withdraw on day 14. Doctor's orders.
Oh. Well, at least he, got his Kachikoshi.
Day 14, Abi goes up against Kotonowaka. It looks like Abi went in a little too low, at least for a big lanky boy like him, giving Kotonowaka a chance to knock him off balance and toss him out for a Tsukuitoshi win that put Abi at Nanasho Nanahai, 7 wins, 7 losses on day 14. Will he get his Kachikoshi? Or will he get his Makikoshi? Well, that all depends on Wakataka Kage.
Dun, 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 dun. Wakataka Kage. That doesn't work. Never mind. Anyway, Wakataka Kage, day 10 versus Shodai. Wakataka Kage was able to get Shodai up against the edge of a Makikoshi after this fight. This coming the day after he was able to defeat another Ozeki, Takakeisho. Shodai would have to win all 5 of his remaining matches to avoid it. Looks like one of my boyfriends was able to put one of your boyfriends in a tight spot.
Well, it certainly didn't help since Shodai's Kataban now.
Aww.
Again.
Day 11 versus Matakayumi. This was a seat-edging match. Nice meat-smacking Tachi. They grapple for a bit. Matakayumi gets Wakataka Kage up against the bales and tries to force him backwards, but Wakataka Kage recovers and immediately gets Matakayumi to the edge and attempts an Uwatanage overarm throw, which Matakayumi is able to resist. They end up at a stalemate in the center of the ring until they start to struggle against each other for a bit. Matakayumi goes for a desperate arm pull, but that only gives Wakataka Kage the chance to Yorikiri his ass out of there, defeating another Ozeki right after the last one. Day 14 versus Ura. As previously mentioned, Ura had suffered a sprained ankle and was therefore Kyujo as of day 14. Easy Kachikoshi for Wakataka Kage.
Yeah, lucky bastard.
Day 15 versus Abi. Abi was playing the part of the leaping monkey in this one, hopping and thrashing about after a classic Nodowa Tachi. He's 1 point away from Kachikoshi and Makikoshi, so he's holding nothing back. But then Wakataka Kage gets his hands on Abi's belt. They lock up for a bit, and you could see it on Abi's face. You could see him thinking, oh shit, what do I do? In a flash, he tries to get an arm inside, but Wakataka Kage is too quick for him. They hop around in circles until Abi has lost all grip on strategy, giving Wakataka Kage the opportunity to escort him out of the ring and possibly out of his career-high Sekiwake rank as he hands Abi his Makikoshi. Final score for Wakataka Kage is 9-6.
And the final score for Abi was 7 wins, 8 losses.
Oh.
Yep. All right, well, let's take a look at how our Komusubis did. I had Hoshoryu. Some notable bouts for him. On day 9, he goes up against Takayasu. I don't want to compare him to his uncle because he's his own person doing his own brand of sumo, but you were saying he looks like he's channeling Asashoryu in this one.
He was being mean. He was being super mean.
He takes a lot of Takayasu's Supari to the face and then armbar throws Takayasu out for a Totari victory and just mean mugs the hell out of him as he's walking off the dojo afterward. Maybe Hoshoryu just really doesn't like getting hit in the face?
I mean, nobody likes getting hit in the face,
Yeah,
but I
true.
mean, he was just mean mugged the shit out of him, and that was just like his sumo just had a mean edge to it, and it was just like, yeah. But I know
Like
you don't
malicious.
want him. It was. I know you don't want him to grow up to be mean like his uncle, but it just seems like sometimes that gets the job done.
I suppose. In the moment, okay. I'll give him that. Day 11, he goes up against Takanosho. They both struggle for ring supremacy, but in the end, Takanosho was able to rock Hoshoryu's balance enough to gain a win by Yori Taoshi, frontal crush out, and the lead for the Yusho with a day 11 score of 9-2. Then on day 14, he goes up against Aoyama. Hoshoryu takes some brutal facial supari from Aoyama. Then Aoyama does some bizarre thing. He lifts his right leg up and then just does a little spin around and allows Hoshoryu to do a rear push out to Okuridashi and win the match. Not sure what the logic was there by Aoyama, who has been actually doing quite well this Basho, but it did give Hoshoryu his Kachikoshi, so I'm not complaining. Then on day 15, Hoshoryu goes up against Kiribayama. Hoshoryu isn't so lucky in this one, as he stays low with a grip on the front of Kiribayama's Mawashi. Kiribayama is able to get a grip on the back of his belt, twist him a bit sideways, causing his foot to slip and his knee to land on the dojo. Uwata Hineri for Kiribayama, and I get a point either way, because I've got both those dudes. Hoshoryu ends this Basho with a score of 8 wins, 7 losses.
All right, and then we have my Komusubi pick, Daisho. Day 9 versus Kiribayama. Daisho making Alanis Morissette proud as an infamous pusher thruster with this ironic loss.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah. Kiribayama won this match by pushing and thrusting Daisho, which is not his usual method as a predominantly throw-oriented Rikishi.
My boyfriends just keep slaying the fuck out of your boyfriends. I don't know what it is. Like, I should just pick, like, really good guys, but...
Anyway. Day 14 versus Sarano Umi. The crowd is fucking fired up for this match. They're all rhythmically clapping as the two Rikishi prepare to fight. Sarano Umi at this point is one of the 3 leading Rikishi, and Daisho is in second with a few other Rikishi as well. Very energetic Tachiai. Daisho is able to gain some ground on his opponent rather quickly, but Sarano Umi comes back at him rather too low, giving Daisho the opportunity to smack his ass down. Hitaki Komi win for Daisho, putting them both in the second place slot. Final score for Daisho, 11-4.
All right. Then for my Maegashira 1-5 pick, I had Kiribayama. Day 11 versus Tobizaru. They were entangled in a game of cat and also cats. I don't want to say cat and mouse, because they were both very cat-like. They're both just fucking wily, really. Kiribayama tries for a pull down, and when that doesn't work, he tries for an Iwatanage overarm throw, which only worked to knock Tobizaru off balance, but it was enough for Kiribayama to drive him out with a Yorikiri victory and a Kachikoshi. Day 13 versus Tochinoshin. Kiribayama gets both hands on the back of Tochi's Mawashi right off the Tachiai. They lock up briefly, but Kiribayama is able to drive his opponent out, giving me another point against one of your guys. So, Kiribayama ends the tournament with a final score of 10 wins, 5 losses.
All right, then we get to Takayasu. I was disappointed in his performance this Basho, especially given what he did last tournament. He was just so... He was, got a Junyu show. I was kind of expecting something like that, but I think he was just in his own head.
Yeah, he
And
was on fire last
I know.
Basho, and this one is just, I don't know if he was depressed he didn't win the last one or what, but
Definitely.
it was kind of hard to watch.
It was. Well, on day 10, Takayasu versus Daisho, it was over pretty quickly. Daisho wins by Tsukio Toshi thrust down, which resulted in a mono-e, but the Gyoji's verdict stood. Makikoshi for Takayasu. Not really anything else this interesting about Takayasu in week 2. His performance was quite the opposite this Basho of what it was last Basho. His final score, 6 wins, 9 losses. And oh my gosh,
dude.
remember we were sitting with Sean and I was like, I was saying, man, if I was one of his senior wrestlers, like back in the day, and, we were looking at his back hair, like there's not a whole lot of Rikishi that are as hairy as Takayasu. I was like, man, I just...
say.
True. I would have taken some like clippers and then just like shaved the kanji for party, when Takayasu's back hairs and stuff. No, that's just too cruel.
That's mean. Don't do Takayasu that way.
If I was his senior wrestler, I probably would have.
Oh, that's
He's
so
lucky
mean.
that I'm not. I'm older than him too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, my pick for Maegashira 6 through 11, I had Wakamoto Haru. Day 11, he goes up against Sadanumi. Wakamoto Haru gets both hands on Sadanumi's mawashi, but Sadanumi is unfazed. He just lifts Wakamoto Haru as much as he can while driving forward to the edge of the ring. And then as they meet the Tawara, he lifts up a leg behind him for balance and tips Wakamoto Haru off the dohyo and claims his own Kachikoshi. Radnaumi beat up one of my boyfriends. How dare he? Then on day 13, he goes up against Azumariu. Nice solid meat smacking sounds as they collide at the Tachiai. Wakamoto Haru was in full control the entire time and just escorts Azumariu out to gain his Kachikoshi. Day 14 versus Ichi Yamamoto. Ichi Yamamoto gives him an unyielding no-dawa off the Tachiai. They end up locked up for a bit. Wakamoto Haru, with a right-handed belt grip, tries to slip his arm under his opponent's to grip with the left hand as well, but Ichi Yamamoto tries to drive forward at the same time, and they both fall off the dohyo. A mono-e is called after the Gyoji calls it for Wakamoto Haru, but it's determined that Ichi Yamamoto stepped out before either one of them landed, so the verdict stood. Uchari win for Wakamoto Haru. Day 15 versus Kochinawaka. Wakamoto Haru comes for Kochinawaka hard from the Tachiai. Hard. But a bit too high up, giving Kochinawaka the chance to grab his belt and Yorikiri him out of the ring. It was at about this point last night that I was halfway through my third Dos Equis, or would that be Dos y Medio Equis? And
She was screaming at the TV. She was just pissed off that Kochinawaka beat up one of her boyfriends and she had to get all bent out of shape about it.
I was yelling obscenities at the TV. Either way, Wakamoto Haru ends this tournament with a score of 9 wins, 6 losses.
All right, then we get to my pick. I had Tochinoshin. So day 9 versus Wakamoto Haru. From the second they collided at the Tachiai, they just locked on and tried to outmuscle each other, which is a really bad idea when going against Tochinoshin. Mm-hmm. Toch just kind of seemed amused and just lets Wakamoto Haru struggle a bit before bunny humping him to the Tawara and then just pancaked his ass out, just straight up flattened him.
I'm surprised he didn't give him a Wakamoto hernia.
God. Day 10 versus Sadanaumi. They go at it like a couple of Komodo dragons, except, without the tails and toxic spit. Each expending all of their strength, but Toch was able to give him just a little more. Sadanaumi almost had him there for a moment, but Toch was able to Yorikiri Sadanaumi out of the ring. Day 12 versus Myogiru. Very standard sumo for Toch, who gets a Kachikoshi win on day 12, but then, as you had already mentioned, loses against Kiribayama on day 13. Whatever. Tochinoshin finishes out the tournament with his Kachikoshi at 8 and 7.
Then for my Maegashira 12 through 17 pick, I had Oho. On day 9, he goes up against Kotokuzan. Oho wins this one using straight up goat tactics.
He did.
He just headbutted Kotokuzan all the way out of the dojo and he just rams him like over and over again. Now that is some Iron Goat Sumo.
Shout out to Iron Goat Sumo in Washington.
I mean, that's just the best description for it.
It really was. Just
it's just coincidence that, they got those guys up in Washington. All right. Then Oho goes up against Kotoeko on day 11. Oho does his little pre-bout twerk or hip gyration or whatever you want to call that. I don't know. It's cute as hell.
Oh.
He and Kotoeko spend the majority of the match trying to outmuscle each other. He then tries to go for a pushdown attack, but Kotoeko uses some nimble maneuvering to resist. Oho then locks up Kotoeko's arms, but Kotoeko don't care.
Oh, no.
He flips Oho right the fuck over and out of the ring. It must take a shit ton of core strength to be able to do something like that with your arms locked up in the position he was in.
That was pretty badass.
Yeah. Day 12, he goes up against Ryuden. Ryuden, that skank. Fucking Nodawad, my baby boy Oho, out of the ring and had the audacity to get his Kachikoshi in the process. That shit was weird as hell. I'm so mad. Then on day 14, Oho goes up against Tobizaru. I think Tobizaru is just mad that he got Maki Koshi on day 13 and wanted to drag someone else down with him because he was pretty relentless going after Oho. Oho put up quite the resistance, however, but it unfortunately just wasn't enough, as Tobizaru was able to push him out with a Tsukidashi, giving Oho a Makikoshi as well.
Aww.
He ends the tournament at 6 wins, 9 losses.
All right, and then we get to my golden boy, Midori Fuji.
Yeah.
All right, Midori Fuji, day 9 versus Chiyo-no-Kuni. He's like a rabid Wolverine. He has no fear whatsoever. As soon as he had a grip on Chiyo-no-Kuni, it was like he was calculating weight and balance until he seized his opportunity to throw. They called him Mono-ii, but it was confirmed that it was Midori Fuji's win. Sukue-nage beltless arm throw.
He's small but fierce.
Yeah.
Like an angry badger.
Like a pit bull. He's so just aggressive.
He's kind of like the new Inho a little bit.
Yeah, this whole breed of giant slayers.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just something about sumo whenever you see those stronger, more agile, small dudes just take on, just the giants.
Dudes that are like 2-3 times bigger than them.
That is really satisfying to see. I kind of get why people love the giant slayers. And then we have day 12 versus Nishiki-gi. Midori Fuji starts out aggressive right off the bat. Nishiki-gi is reaching for a belt grip, but Midori Fuji just starts laying into him, like immediately, masterfully controlling the entire bout to get Nishiki-gi into position to pull off a perfect Kataskashi, his signature move. Day 14, we have Midori Fuji versus Chiyo Shoma, the Hinka King. Midori Fuji latches onto Chiyo Shoma's Mawashi from the Tachiai, refusing to let go as they dance around the dojo a bit until he tosses Chiyo Shoma out with the Shitate Nage and wins his Kachikoshi. Day 15, they just had to pit two of the guys that I've been rooting for the whole tournament, make them fight each other in Mortal Kombat. It's sumo, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, so day 15, Midori Fuji versus Tochinoshin. Toch thinks a forearm blast to the face will actually phase Midori Fuji, but he just ends up grabbing that arm and tosses Tochinoshin's punk ass out of the ring with the Kataskashi. Midori Fuji's final score, 9 wins, 6 losses. He did really well. 9 and 6.
He really did.
That was He was just so badass. Sometimes it just seems like if he just got caught at the wrong angle by someone that was just a lot bigger, that, he would just kind of... You can't just take a giant hand to the face like that and expect to just stand in the same spot, So, I mean, of course, physics sometimes got the better of him, but I just really enjoyed watching him this tournament. He was just so badass. I think I do have a new Giant Slayer in my heart.
Aww. Well, I guess it's time to look at the tally and see who won this one. Looked like I was in the lead after week 1, but now I have 57 points for all my guys.
I have 61 for all of my guys.
Damn it.
After she was like, even on day 13, it was either day 12 or 13, where you were still beating me.
Damn you, Kotonowaka!
It's all your fault.
Damn you!
She was screaming at him last night, just verbally on fire at Kotonowaka, beating up her boyfriend and ruining her fantasy score.
I'm gonna have 3 more Ekis tonight just to be able to cope with it. Maybe even 4 more Ekis. Mas Ekis.
But congratulations to Terano Fuji on another You show. I knew it was gonna be you.
Oh, you did you?
Oh, I did. Actually, I don't know if I put that in in Nemo's Discord. There was you could just play for fun, regular, fantasy. And then there was one where you're betting everything on who's going to take it all. Who is the You show winner going to be? And I don't think that I answered that. I'm going to have to go back and check. If I did, then I guess correctly.
Because a lot of people thought it was going to be either Sanomi or
Aoyama.
Aoyama did very well in this Basho, surprisingly. Takanosho also was a front runner, at least until Sanumi got a hold of him.
I did see that thing that Grand Sumo Breakdown was talking about, how there could have potentially been a 4-way playoff if things had gone a certain way. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way.
People were saying that.
That would have been fucking cool. But there were a whole lot of playoffs today. Last night, whatever. But it was...
Technically still today.
Yeah, Jonokuchi, Jonidan, and was it... Oh, and Juryo. Those, yeah, so I think it was just Makushita and Makuuchi were the only ones that didn't have a playoff.
Well, we did have some honorable mentions.
And dishonorable mentions.
Yes. On day 12, we had Kotokuzan going up against Teratsuyoshi. Off the Tachi-ai, Teratsuyoshi dives right for Kotokuzan's crotch. Like he was probably going for the Mawashi, but he aimed a little too low and just kind of got Kotokuzan right in the no-nos. He tries to correct himself and grab the belt, but Kotokuzan gives him a flurry of Supari to the face and to the chest, knocking him away. It looks like Teratsuyoshi apparently didn't have anything else planned because he kind of just starts running away like he's trying to escape Kotokuzan's fury. But he catches Kotokuzan's hands in the face again and tumbles to the clay. Frontal thrust down. Tsuki Tayoshi win for Kotokuzan, who on day 12 is actually at 2-10.
Aww.
Yeah, I guess having his sack tap is pretty motivating for Kotokuzan.
Would probably motivate me. Sack tap. Ah!
You bastard!
All right, day 13, we had Kotonowaka versus Tobizaru. Tobizaru seems to be a little more in control of this bout than Kotonowaka. That is until Kotonowaka gets a grip on the back of Tobizaru's Mawashi and attempts to throw him out of the ring. Tobizaru narrowly avoids stepping out by doing a complete 360 spin at the edge of the Tawara, but before he could recover, Kotonowaka was already on him and pushed him out for an Oshi-Taoshi victory, giving Tobizaru his Makekoshi.
Then on day 15, we had Sanumi versus Takanosho.
Dun, dun, dun!
Sanumi at Maegashira 12 with a 10-win, 4-loss score. goes against front-runner Takanosho, or one of the front-runners, because I think Teruno Fuji was still front-runner then, goes up against Takanosho, who is a Maegashira 4 with a score of 11 wins, 3 losses. Sadanoumi is immediately able to get a belt grip and toss Takanosho and his Yusho dreams right out of the ring with a Sakui Nage, giving them both an ending score of 11 and 4. Outstanding sumo by Sadanoumi this Basho.
Seriously, Radanaumi just did amazingly. And, I mean, I've seen some other tournaments, and it's just like, oh, yeah, he was just kind of there, just being a rank and filer, just rank and filing. But he really stood out this time, and I was like, oh, shit, there's a reason why he's in the upper division.
Yeah, I kind of get it now.
Yeah. Aoyama also ends up doing much better this Basho than we've seen him in quite some time.
Yeah. Aoyama did great, really.
Really, really great. Ends up with a score of 10 and 5. I'm still not sure if they're censoring his nipples or if they're just censoring them sometimes, or if Aoyama just has particularly elusive nips. Please send us your opinions on this important matter. No, seriously, I've seen on YouTube, and they were just, I think they were the Grand Sumo highlights someone uploaded, but it looked like that they were censoring his nipples. Like, you could see the blurry spots kind of following, like, maybe a millisecond behind of where his nipples were going. And then other times, you could just see the goat eye, just, just kind of looking at you. So,
the goat eye.
I don't know I mean, okay, in a couple of instances, I have seen straight up censorship of his nipples.
Definitely send us your opinions on this, because it is very important to us that we hear what you think of Aoyama's nipples.
Seriously, Aoyama's nipples. All right. Okay. So we're going to dishonorable mentions.
Oh, yeah. We definitely have a list of dishonorable mentions as well. Like Koto no Waka versus Hokuto Fuji on day 9. Way surprised there wasn't a mono-e, because Koto no Waka's heel definitely made contact with the outside of the ring, while both of the soles of Hokuto Fuji's feet were still on the ground on the inside of the ring. Gojis are just making all kinds of weird calls this tournament. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the Shimpans are supposed to, say, hey, if you see something, say something. Shimpans.
That's their job, but they're I don't know, maybe Aoyama's nipples are just too distracting.
The goat eyes. All right, then we had Wakataka Kage versus Taka Keisho on day 9. Another questionable match. We went through the video several times, and it really looked to us like Wakataka Kage's fingers hit the clay just briefly when Taka Keisho went for that pushdown attack. Wakataka Kage wins. Poor Taka Keisho gets a bloody nose when maybe he could have won that one. Even though this was one of my guys, I had to call this out just because it was just so egregious.
Like, you could see the, dust.
Yeah, a little dust cloud.
Yeah, the little dust cloud from where his fingertips just barely grazed the clay.
Yeah, it's just them things that make you go,
Well, day 12, we had Ura versus Taka Keisho. And this is why we just cannot keep our eyes off of Ura. Pretty weak Tachi-ai, admittedly, which is typical for Ura. A lot of Rikishi don't even try to have a more forceful Tachi-ai with him, just because Ura's so wily. Yeah. They're just too wary of him, really. So Taka Keisho gives him a good no-to-wa, but Ura resists. They struggle a bit. Taka Keisho gets Ura against the bales again and goes in for the kill with a frontal push-out, confident that he had just won the match.
He was even strutting a bit.
Ura, however, actually pivoted on his left leg to spin his right leg around behind him, avoiding making contact with the outside of the ring, but being knocked off balance in the process, flailing wildly to stay upright as Taka Keisho, unaware of what's going on behind him, gives him the win by stepping out. The judges call mono-e, but it's pretty clear that Ura was the winner.
Yeah. There was no way that the shinny tie, the dead body rule, could apply in this.
Nope.
There was no expert technique that had Ura losing complete control or anything like that. It was just Takakeisho just stepped out.
Yeah, he stepped out of his own volition.
I made that mistake once. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was bad. Well, I mean, we were arguing about it. There's a Dallas Sumo Club video of me versus Dakota, and I did the tsuridashi, where you pick them up and then just lift them out and plop him outside the ring.
But you weren't aware of what your feet were doing.
I was not. I had
and
him
that's very important.
I had him lifted up, and then I stepped out of the ring. So there's a camp that says that I won because of the Shinny Tai, that he was just completely, there was nothing he could do to recover. And there were others that say, well, I stepped out, I lost. So I don't know. Sumo can have some very... Even though the rules are simple, sometimes they can be a bit murky.
Flexible sometimes.
Yeah. All right. We also had all of the weird calls by the Gyojis and the Shenpans.
Yes, as our dishonorable mentions.
Even though there seemed to be more mono-i's called than usual this Basho, or maybe because of it, there were some really weird calls going on. For a few of the matches, there was no mono-i called when there really should have been.
There really should have been.
And then I think they were getting a lot of shit for calling mono-i's, or they were getting a lot of shit for not calling them mono-i, so I think they were just calling them,
kind of willy-nilly.
Yeah. So...
Like, we had stuff like Shodai versus Hoshoryu on day 8, and then Wakataka Kage versus Takakeisho on day 9. The stuff that we've already talked about. And in a Basho that's been such a tight race up until the end, it makes me wonder how else it could have ended. How it could have gone differently.
So in all of our parallel universes, the tournament ended completely different ways.
The sumo multiverse.
The sumo multiverse of madness. More like the sumo multiverse of mata-ness.
Oh my god, I know, right? So that's another dishonorable mention. All of the matas in this tournament. It seems like every day there was, 2-3 matas, at least in
Makuuchi alone.
And matas are false starts, if you don't know. I'd say it had to be at least maybe around 30 for the whole Basho. So that would be an average of 2 a day?
Yeah.
Right? Particularly egregious example of this was when Endo went up against Hokuto Fuji, and Endo just lightly touches the clay with one hand and then immediately stands up and just sort of casually walks over to Hokuto Fuji, who's just squatting there like, huh? What? What's going on here? Endo still ends up winning that one, staving off his Makikoshi for another day and bloodying Hokuto Fuji's face in the process, but it was just such a recurring theme, mata after mata after mata, and I'm wondering if maybe that also has something to do with how close some of these races were, because people were just kind of getting people off their game, you know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody seemed to be off their game. There was just lots of weird energy. And a lot of just off-the-wall stuff happening, just mistakes being made. I think the clay was slippery in a couple of spots. There was a whole lot of slips, a whole lot of losing balance, and it was just all over the place. It was just a roulette wheel, pretty much. But it was awesome. I loved watching it. I was not disappointed. I was disappointed in the performance of some of the Rikishi, but not in the tournament overall. I thought it was a whole lot of fun, and just the mystery, the whole anticipation, just not knowing made it that much more enjoyable, at least for me.
Yeah, some of that stuff was like edge of your seat sort of shit. Other than that, though, that's pretty much all we have to say about this tournament. Matt's got a show to get to with his band, got to scream around and play loud music, so we'll just leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening to us. Definitely stay tuned for next week's episode, where we will be continuing our DIY Sumo Club interview series. But until then, you can find us on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, what have you.
Sumo Punx, or at Sumo Punx, except for Twitter.
Which I fucked up, so that one is at punxsumo. You can also email us at sumopunx@gmail.com.
And Punx is always with an X.
Yes. Until next time, bye.
Bye!